The Vail housing market has been very busy, and it's been quite unique in how it's operated over the past few months to a year. My name's Mason. I'm a real estate agent here in Vail and really all over Tucson and Pima County, but I live in Vail and I love this community. My kids go to school here and I watch it closely. With that being said, Vail has always had, out of all of Tucson, the most amount of homes sold month to month, and we have seen the values go up and up and up in southeast Tucson. Now, specifically when I say Vail, this is 85641, and we're only looking at single family homes. So no manufactured homes, no townhomes, and no land, strictly just single family homes. Now, typically you would see, if you have an area where there's a lot of supply or a lot of homes for sale and mediocre buyer demand, home values should start to fall. Well, Vail has been a bit immune to that. We've seen home values go up and up and up, and even though home sales are going up and inventory is going up, both total inventory and home values have continued to rise. While looking back at this past month's numbers, we are now seeing a correction in the Vail market. Again, this is specific to 85641. Over the past 3 months, home values have continued to slide down and sales and inventory has continued to go up. With that being said, the total amount of sales for November was 70, and that's up 89% from the same time last year till today. Now, what that tells me was last year there was a lot of uncertainty in the market, and this year both buyers and sellers determined this is the norm. This is what housing looks like. The confidence was put back into the market that nothing's going to change, and both buyers and sellers decided to enter into the market and start buying and selling once again. Now, understand, this is an election year, and we are in a winter market right now, so of course we always see home values slide just a little downwards and then get a good pop going into the spring market. Now, I want to be clear, this is not pointing towards a crash or not pointing towards a bubble. We've simply just seen a balancing of the market to where now with a little bit more supply, we are seeing home values flatten out as well as come down from the peaks that we were at earlier this year. A few notes before I get into the numbers for all us data nerds out there. If you are in the 300 to 400 and 400 to 500 price point brackets when it comes to both buying and selling, you are going to have the most amount of, let's call it, competition. Both of those price brackets, and really we divide them up into two, 300 to 400, 400 to 500, those have seen by far the most amount of sales in Vail. So if you're a seller, you need to have realistic expectations to know that you're not the only duck in that pond. There are a lot of other options when it comes to homes. So when I'm sitting down with a family who has a home in those price points, I'm going to tell them, here are the comps, here's our competition, and here's how previous homes have performed. And what I'm going to look at is days on market. Now, I'll get into that later, but let's just say days on market right now is in Vail, it's a little over 2 months. And to a seller, that seems like a long time because trust me, I sold my own home as well. Every day that you're on the market feels like a week. A week feels like a month. And why isn't my home selling? Why isn't there any attention? Why don't I have an offer yet? And that's because this is real estate when it's somewhat balanced. Homes no longer fly off the shelf. Sure, you might have an objectively good home that disappears on day one or week one, but for the majority of homes right now, especially in those popular price points, you're going to have to really practice patience. You can check all the boxes you want when it comes to photos, negotiations, staging, how good the home smells and looks and all the features you have. But what's going to stand out the most is price, price, price. Now, I will say never make it a race to the bottom just so you can get your home sold unless you absolutely have to. Price your home with confidence, make sure there's good reasoning behind it, and prepare to just let it hang out. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear, but you can do as many open houses, you can do all the advertising you can, but at the end of the day, what we don't control is who enters your home and who writes the offer. The goal in a market like this is for your agent to get as many eyeballs on your home as possible. That way it increases the likelihood of a buyer finding your home, touring it, and then writing an offer. Now, if you're a buyer in this market, be aggressive. That's the best way I can describe it. I recently had a home that we just closed on about a week or two ago, and we came in $30,000 under asking price. Now, I told my client in my experience we should expect some sort of counter, but I still think $30,000 under asking price for this home was reasonable, not completely out of this world. Well, fast forward not even 24 hours, we had a signed, sealed, and delivered accepted offer, no negotiations, no counter, no nothing. And without disclosing too much information, my client was willing to negotiate. We fully expected to counter, but we got $30,000 off of the asking price. We got some other bonuses there, but really the main point, we came in aggressive because the home sat on the market. They didn't have a lot of attention on the home, so we knew we had a couple power plays we could make. We wrote a strong offer in other aspects aside from price, and we ultimately got $30,000 off. All that to say, if you're shopping, make sure you have an agent who understands the market, the dynamic of it, the ebbs and flows. Are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? How long has this home been on the market for? Is the seller moved out already and carrying 2 mortgages? Do they need to unload this property? Or is this maybe a paid off home to where they don't care how long it sits? Or maybe it was an Airbnb. Whatever home you're looking at as a buyer, the amount of research that you should do on it as well as your agent is endless, because you guys want to put yourself in the most advantageous position possible. I'll give you the summary up front before I start listing off all the numbers for the market. Patience, 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 whether you're a buyer or a seller. Sellers, I already explained your part, and buyers, you might realize that there's just not a whole lot to pick from. And you also might be struggling with, do you take a resale home or do you take a new construction home? And that's fair. And to be honest, 9 out of 10 times, those new construction financing numbers are going to blow any numbers out of the water when it comes to looking at a standard loan, whether it's VA, conventional, or FHA. So when you compare those two, a lot of families right now in this market are trending towards or leaning towards a new construction. So getting into things, as I said earlier, the amount of sales for November was 70, and that's up 89% from the same time last year to today. Now, I will say I have a puppy behind me. I'm not sure if he'll start barking, but please excuse him. I'm on puppy watch today. The average sales price for the month of November was $411,000. This is down almost 8.5% from the same time last year till this year. Your median price was also down 2.8%, came in at $388,000. Your average days on market was 85 days. So let's just call it 3 months for your average days on market before you take an accepted offer. That is up, so slower, 31 days, a whole month slower to sell a home last year as it is this year. The median days on market, so right in the middle, came in at 66 days. So again, 2 months to sell a home in the median, and that is slower by 20 days from the same time last year till today. Your average price per square foot is up 3.7%, and that came in at $207. And the next one's important because it kind of shows me a certain balance in the market is the percent of list price received. So how much of the total price you're selling your home for does a homeowner receive? If you sell your home for $500,000 and you listed it for $500,000, you are getting 100% of your list price received. For the month of November, sellers were taking home, on average, about 99% of their list price received. That tells me that even though homes are sitting and values have started to flatten out and come down just a little bit, sellers are still getting very, very close, if not full price for their home. So have confidence in your pricing, price it right, but understand it's just going to take longer to get to that point. One of the final pieces that I really like looking at is the price drop statistics. So on average, there was a 6.1% price drop after 22 days on market. That's the median. So the median is 22 days. So let's just call it a month. After about a month, if there's no activity, you might want to reconsider where you're at with your price. And that price averaged to be about 6%, price drop averaged to be about 6% here in Vail. I mentioned earlier that there was 70 total sales in November. 45 of those had a price drop in November. So over half, a very strong number, shows that if you wait long enough as a buyer, you're going to get the seller to drop the price. Now that's a gamble because you might miss out on the home, but that is the trend right now, is over half of these homes in this winter election year market have decided to drop the price only after about 20 to 30 days. Lastly, is one of my favorite parts. Here's where Vail 85641 ranks amongst the other 30 zip codes in Tucson. So if you're in Tucson, your first 3 digits of your zip code should be 857 ... And in Vail, it's 85641. The first category is the most amount of sales, and Vail comes in strongly at first with 70 total sales for the month of November. Next was on the east side, 85747 at 39. And again, another east side zip code, 85730 with 31 total sales. So 70, 39, and 31. When we look at the highest median price point for all 31 zip codes here in town, Vail came in at 16th place, so let's call it right in the middle, at $388,000. Last but not least is the slowest zip codes, how long it takes a home to sell. And those days on market puts Vail 85641 at second place with 66 days on market. Again, that is the median. The average was 85. So 2 to 3 to 4 months really to sell a home here in town. Now, before I get to my final thoughts on our area and the housing market here, I'm recording this on December 20th. This past week, we had the Fed meeting, and the words that Jerome Powell spoke into existence really caused a huge wave throughout the markets, both housing and the stock market. I'm not going to touch on the stock market or anything with the economy, but in regards to housing, it really put a hold on where we're at. You can really expect this to be the norm, and we even saw rates creep up just a little bit this past week. Get with your local lender to get your current rates, but expect no change. This is going to be the norm where rates are at now. They're at about 6.5%, touching 7%. I know there was a little bit of a downward change today, but really nothing's on the horizon that's going to change. Now, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and I'm not predicting crash or no crash, but what we see now is just a steady, balanced market with some good ebb and flow to it. Naturally, we're in the winter market, and we always see Tucson, like clockwork, every year, March, April, May, sees a very large pop with their spring market. Well, thank you guys for watching. My name is Mason. I am a real estate agent here. If you have questions about your home, your zip code, what your home's worth, just anything in general, even if you have no intention of buying or selling and you're just simply curious about something, I'd be happy to chat. I genuinely love what it is I do. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next month.